Hello, my name is Sean Olson. I'm recording this video on the 1-year anniversary of the release of the Wallworm model tools to share with you some of the progress over the last year and to hopefully provide a few more tips to some of the features that are built into the whole set of tools that many of you may not know about yet. I'm going to use this scene that I've been using in the level design tutorial showing people how to use Convexity in 3ds to get your levels into Source. And most of the geometry and level layout is already done here, and mostly it's just me adding props and the entities and things. So I'm going to go ahead and hide some of the exterior of this so we can see it from side angles and not worry about the boundaries. These purple dots are just entities that Convexity puts in. In fact, here's one feature in Max that's pretty cool. Is you can use reference systems. So the level design part, the building, and all of these entities that you see laid out are actually not even in the file that I'm in right now. Those are in another file that are referenced in here. So I can see it and work around it, but I'm not actually editing any of that. Right now, the file that I'm working on actually only has the displacements and the models. So if I were to hide the various geometry that's part of the map, you'll see that this is actually all that I'm working on right now. So this is actually all of the models and the displacements in my scene at the moment. And there are more props to be made. One of the newest features that's been introduced in the latest version is a proxy system that allows you to reuse models in a scene. In this example, I have a model here called awning, and its data is stored in this blue helper here. It'll be easier to see it if I change its color. So this helper, referred to in the docs, you'll see it say the Wallworm model tool helper. This is usually what it's referring to. It's what's storing the information for it. So if I open up Wallworm model tools and pick that, you'll see that all the data for this model is stored. I can get back its information. You'll also notice that in this scene there are some other models that are pretty much the same thing, but those ones do not have any Wallworm model tool helpers. And those ones are proxies that are referencing this one. So when we actually go to export this into a VMF, it's going to put this model in all of those locations, but when we go to export the actual models, we're only going to export this one model. Another thing that the proxy system allows you to do is to place skins on them. These are all the same model, but these ones look different. They're using a different texture. And there's some over here also. The same exact model using a different texture, and we'll go into making one of these completely from scratch. So to show you how that works, we're going to use these flagpoles here that are holding up this cloth shade. Now in the scene here I have 4 of them. They're just copied. This is the only one that we're going to use, and these ones are going to be deleted, and we're going to replace them with proxies of this. So this model is already textured. It has a material and a bitmap on it. And that's something important that you always need to texture your models. This is whether you're using Wallworm tools or not. Let's make sure we have the name that we want. Let's call it the shade pole 1. So now we just need to pick our model here. And we're going to say this is a static prop. We're going to choose metal. We're going to choose the proper place for where this prop is going to go. I might need another folder, but I'm going to put it there for now. And this is important when you're using the Wallworm model tools to build a model in the scene. So this model is somewhere in the scene. It's not located at 000 in Max. It's somewhere away from off from the world origin. If that's the case, you'll want to make sure you choose use local origin as world origin. If you don't do that, your model will be in the wrong place when you export it. Now this pole needs to collide, so we need to make a collision hull. I'm not going to create it manually, and I'm not going to choose the auto hull button. What I'm going to do is use the Convexity quick hull, which is integrated with Wallworm Model Tools. If you own Convexity, we're going to click this quick hull, and now there's a hull that's based off the shape of this. I'm going to go ahead and show you that. Here's the collision hull that was created. I'm going to turn on edge faces. It's a little bit more complex here than what I probably want. I would optimize that, but just to show you that you can quickly make hulls with this tool. And I'm not going to show you the interface for all the adjustments for that because it's not fully released yet, because it's not finished being developed and the UI is still being changed. But when the new version of Convexity comes out, you will be able to use it and control that collision mesh however you want through the interface here, lowering the detail or increasing it depending on the needs of your individual model. Those are two individual convex chunks that are assigned to the collision hull, and now the model tools knows that this is going to be concave. Now here's something that you may want to always do if you're going to use the proxies that we were discussing earlier. Usually you want to make sure that the origin of your model, the pivot point, is aligned to the world. If we look at this local, we'll see that its alignment is not really the same as the world. Normally you don't have to worry about this too much, but right now in this version of the proxy system, you can get incorrect rotation of your proxies. So what I suggest is having your model selected, and we'll just keep it on local so we can see here. We'll go to Affect Pivot Point Only, and we're going to align to world and get rid of that. Normally you don't have to worry about that, but for what I'm going to show you, that is kind of important. So in this scene, these poles are out in a place that there's a lot of things open, and this is a big area where a lot of action's going on. So I would probably want to make some LODs out of these. Now, these are not really high detail poles as it is, but I think I can reduce them enough to make it worthwhile. So what we'll want to do is go to the level of detail tools, and we're just going to make one LOD, and we're going to hit generate, and we'll want to show that LOD. So here's the root level of detail, or the root model with no LOD, and if we look at the next level, we can see it at this point. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this down a little bit and see how much we can get it to go down without it really looking any different from a distance. Alright, so we've brought it down a pretty good amount. I'm going to select the helper for the LOD distance, and I'm going to say that it switches off once you get about that far away. It'll switch to the lower LOD. And I'm going to hide that. So the root model is 270 tries, and when we go to the LOD level 1, you'll see it's down to 146 tries. So we reduced it by quite a bit. And let's hide this. And now, to show you the next stage of making proxies, I'm going to go ahead and delete these three meshes. And to make a proxy, it's assuming that you're making a level here, so you'll need to open up the Wallworm Displacement tool, which is now part of the whole set of tools. We select our model. Actually, we need to select our helper. This works on the helper. We then hit Create WWMT Proxy. If we do that, you'll see that all of a sudden there's another one in the scene that looks like what you already had. I'm going to align that to this object and then I'm going to just move it to the location where I needed it. And I can just take that object and just copy it, and I'll make 2 copies of it. So now when I export this into the game, those will all be models, and they all have their own LODs. They're just instances of this same model. Now these instances, these proxies, I can take them and create new skins from them. I can create a new skin. So let's go ahead and make a new, let's customize the texture on this one. Let's close these for now. And if you have Max 2011 and up, you can use the viewport canvas to just paint your textures on here. So we are going to paint on this object's diffuse channel. And we're going to add a new layer here. And we're just going to add a little bit of we're just going to add like there's some rust or something on here. Randomize this a little bit. We'll give this the rough. We're going to randomize the color a little bit here. Make it darker. It's a little bit rustier than the other ones for some reason. Might want to bring this down a little bit. We'll add another layer. We're going to make this one less obvious there. We'll put this in the cracks here. Do that like this. Do that around here a little bit. That. Alright, so when we're done here, we'll want to hit Save Bitmap Flattened As. And this is important because if I just save this, it's going to overwrite the original texture. So I'm going to save this as a new bitmap. And I'm just going to remember where I saved it to. You'll want to do Targa. And I'm going to choose Diffuse Rusty. That's what I'm going to call it. Save. And then I'm going to right click and I'm going to hit Discard Paint. I've already saved my bitmap, so I don't need to worry about it. So now what I want to do is open the material editor, and I have a view here for my flagpoles. I'm going to create a new material, standard material. For the diffuse, I'm going to choose the bitmap that I just created. The rusty one. And I'm going to apply that to our mesh here. I want to say that it's visible in the viewport. There we go. So now we have a new skin for that. Now it's not going to export as a skin yet. There's still another step. We have to create a multi-material. For skins, for Wallworm model tools, what you do is you create a multi-sub-object material. This one's going to have 2 skins. The default is that one. The second skin is this one. Now, if I take this multi-material, there are 2 ways to get the skin to export, to assign it. One way is to take your multi-material and just assign it to the helper, to the Wallworm model tool helper. If I do that, then it will export. Another way is in the Wallworm Model Tools. If we pick our model, our helper here, and we go to the Utilities, if you click Pick Skin Material, you can then browse to whatever material it is that you have set up for your skin material. Alright, so we're going to finish up here by showing you a couple of the other features in the model tools that many people don't know about. And we'll open up Wallworm Model Tools. We're just going to go to the Utilities rollout. One of the things you can do is actually just select your whole scene, or you could just select the helpers, because this function only works on helpers, so we can go to just shapes, because all of the helpers are shapes. And we can hit Quick Compile. When we do that, it will go through and compile all of the models that we have in our scene, every single one of them all at once. And again, that can take a while depending on how many models are in your scene. The models are all now compiled, and you can do the same thing with the textures. For all that you have selected, go through and compile all the textures all at once. And to finish off this anniversary edition of the Wallworm Model Tools, I'm going to point out that these are displacements. Displacements have been added to the whole setup. They're in the Displacement tool. And if I want to add new displacements, I can add them to the interface. I've also added recently the ability to copy displacements. I think these are 256 chunks. No, 128 chunks. Alright, these are all at 128 sizes. I can actually just copy this. Just going to add these here real fast, and you can sew them together, and then you can just start. I'm going to go into edit mode here. It allows me to work on all of these as one mesh and use any of the normal tools for sculpting the mesh and texturing, or doing the alpha blending. And if I export this, this is all going to be a displacement. I did add recently in the edition that I'm putting out today a new feature, and that is if you try to edit the topology of the edit mesh, for example, deleting a vertex, it will tell you you can't do that. Before it would let you do that, and then it would just fail. The export wouldn't happen properly. But now you can no longer improperly delete a vertex on a displacement. It will tell you you can't do that. So now we're going to export all of this stuff. To export the displacements and all of the models, you just open up, let's do it again here, the Wallworm Displacement tool, and you click the Create VMF or Send to Hammer. And by default, it's going to go to wherever you save it with the name that is the current file name. The current max file name will be whatever you call it, .vmf. props2.vmf. And it's going into my map source folder. And it may take a bit, especially if you have a whole bunch of displacements in your scene. Alright, when it's done, it'll say the VMF was successfully saved. Let's open it up in Hammer. We called it props2. And again, this is only going to be the props and displacements in this version. And here are our flagpole models. And you'll see the extra skin on this one. If I double click this, go to the properties, you'll see that it shows skin 1 because that was the first skin we made. And these other ones, the same exact model, which is shader pole 1. If I click on this one, same model, but this one is skin 0. So that shows you how the skins work. And the same up here, This one for the awning model has a skin of 0, but this one back here, same model, but it has a skin of 2. So now to merge this with your convex geometry that you may have made with convexity, currently this is the steps you have to do to get that. We'll want to go to a view where we can see all of our things. You want to select everything in the scene. That's by dragging the select tool around it, hit enter, select it all, then hit create prefab. If you do this, we can call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it props. And you might want to give it a name that you can reference easy. Props for my map, whatever you want to call it. Hit save. Then you'll want to open up the file that you exported into Hammer with Convexity. And here's that file. I don't have the textures on right now. I was changing the textures. And I don't have them available on this. But once we have our scene here, you'll then want to go to prefabs and choose the one that you made with my tool. Hit insert original prefab. When you do that, it's not going to be lined up exactly right, unfortunately. But that's not too hard to fix. Just go to the top view. And you'll just want to line it up, which should be just as easy as snapping it to the grid. And I believe we've got that lined up correctly. So here are our flagpoles that we made again. This is all made in 3ds. So then when you're done here, you just hit save and you can start compiling when you have your textures and everything done how you want. Which again, I would have done that in 3ds, but I don't have those textures in Hammer here that I was using. So now I expect that in the near future, Convexity will actually just natively handle the exporting of all of this stuff with its export. And if that doesn't happen, then I may end up writing a utility to export Convexity in my tools at once, in which case you don't have to merge your files after the fact. But that's not in the current implementation. So that's how you do that. Again, my name is Sean Olson. My tools are at wallworm.com. Hopefully you found this informational and gives you some ideas and food for thought. Thank you, and have a good day.